Good gravy. Gee. Okay, really quickly, I won't be here long, but clues along the way. For those of you who come click on this video at some point, okay, clues along the way. We're talking about the targeted individuals out there where you discover that this thing, you learn over time that it is way more massive than you could have ever imagined, and that it branches off into all sorts of other collective groups of things, okay? So here's some clues along the way. Sometimes a lot of stuff is being given to us and it's in conversations. Okay. It's in your regular, everyday, run of the mill, standard conversations with people. Okay. So let me explain. Okay. Because somebody's going to say, what do you mean it's in there? I'm not talking about like your homies necessarily. Okay. Or like people that, like your family, your lovers. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying just, let's say when you're talking about business affairs and you know your target individual, you know that they have continually tried to entrap you in various different places, locations behind the scene, because they're always monitoring your behind the scene activity. And so because of that, they're always doing that interweaving the entire time. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example, and it's going to come to you because they're always trying to test. They are in the know. So they're always trying to figure out what you know without asking you, to see if by way of the way you answer a question is going to let them know if you have a particular piece of information. So let me give you an example. Let's say you go and talk to a manager. Let's say this is about a community. And you go in there and you say, because you're trying to do the protocols of how you deal with any issues that may be occurring. And because everywhere you go, it's like people are playing pass the ball. You know what I'm saying? Oh, we recommend you do this. Oh, we recommend you do that. And so anyway, keep away. Anyhow. So you go in there and you say, hey, this is happening, and this the tenant or resident, blah 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 blah, and I don't want any problems. I don't want to be accused of anything. I'm a targeted individual, and I deal with a lot of things where they're trying to constantly bait me into situations. So I just rather not. I'm not going to play that game. And however, something, it needs to be addressed. And now watch this. As you're telling the story of what happened, because they'll sit there and say, okay, act like they're taking notes and, whatever. And they'll say something like, oh, okay, well, okay, I'm going to need a name. I'm going to need a name. Did you hear me? Some of you are going to say, so what's wrong with that? Why are you saying that that's a clue? Like they're saying they're going to need a name. See, you see how this stuff is, it's small, and this is why this shit works. You're at an apartment complex. You talking about residents in properties that they manage. They would know that information just because they manage. So why would they even make that statement in this context? Okay. If it was a different kind of scenario, I would say that's a normal standard question, because how else are they supposed to know? If you were to go to the cops, yes, they don't just necessarily know, so they would need or as much information. But when you're talking about a manager of a property, if they don't know people by heart, by way of saying resident at so-and-so, they certainly have access to that because it's the property in which they manage. So they wanted to know if you had that information or not, so that they can go and report to, you know, their people or whatever this whole little shit is. Okay. So those are clues along the way. Now here's some other tips. Okay. Because when you, let me get to the second part. Now, because they're always watching you, this includes your social media. And they're always watching, and as they're watching it, you know, because some of these people, they're in the craft or they know people who are, so they have their readers, they have all their people, because we're talking about people who obviously abused it, which is why they're under final judgment. Okay. So then they, you know, they go around, you know, saying, hey, you know, I saw this, you know, and then so this is the next part that comes in. They play games with each other. See, some of the things that I've been saying for some time now, one day somebody out there is going to catch where I'm going. When you roll like that, when that's the kind of posse you are, I don't care if it's a Bonnie or Clyde, I don't care if it's whatever, your crew, Shady Acres, shady dealings, okay? There's nothing integral about none of it. And they play games with each other, especially when the rubber starts meeting the road, especially when the heat is on and the pot is being stirred up. Okay, so they'll say something like, that didn't happen, or they don't have nothing, they're confused. And then somebody else may come and say, well, no, I saw it. I saw it. I wasn't able to see it all. Maybe they blocked us from being able to see it all. They did get something. They got some names. They got something. And then someone else, you know, will come in and be like, no, that's just a tactic. That's just a, you know, that's just a scare tactic. That's just to get you to woo-de-woo. I didn't tell them nothing. I didn't tell them nothing. I didn't say nothing. I didn't talk to them. I didn't tell, you know, because that's, you know what? And maybe they didn't. See, here's the thing. This is the part of being a shitty kind of motherfuckers. You got to get nervous then, because, you know, you got all this shit going on, and you got to worry about who's squealing and who says something or not, you know, because there's an assumption of where something may have come from or may not have come from. Because now the people got to pull from what you are presenting, and then based on that, they got to kind of try to woven in what they're thinking that has happened, or where they're thinking that you've gotten information from. But see, you wouldn't have to be doing all that if you wasn't. That's my point. You wouldn't have to be doing all that if you wasn't up to some nasty shit in the first place. People start to assume, this is what I'm also learning, because of the fact they've been watching you on this kind of a level, they assume that you haven't learned your own tricks of the trade. See, that's what I'm saying. I talk about this, the arrogance, the presumptions, the assumptions, you know, because of the fact, you know, we are a bigger group and we got access to, you know, take this and that and woo-de-woo, and we know that don't mean nothing. Because I can speak for myself. I'm sure some of you out there are very similar. I've always got something else up my sleeve. Always got something that it stayed off the radar on purpose. for that reason. Trying to assume that they can have track of all your communications is arrogance and naive. It's very naive. But that works for us, because as the as it starts to get closer and closer to it, that's possibly why at the end of the year it's going to look the way it is, because of the confidence, the arrogance, because that all goes under the ring of Gyges, all of it. That's still the same thing. They're confused, they're blind, they don't know nothing, they're in denial. We've got this, we got this bound up tight, we've got this hidden, we 30 deep, we're 100 deep, we got this around the clock, we got this, What is that code for? Ring of Gyges. Because ring of Gyges is still the idea of having some kind of hidden leverages, power and access. So no worries. It's still back to the principle. Don't worry. We are not going to get caught. That's why they're under final judgment. Some, during that process will say stuff like, well, just hold back a little bit on the baneful magic. But this is all, listen, this is not new. It may sound like it's not. This has always been going on. We just started unfolding and making sense of it all. Oh, when this starts happening, that means somebody, okay. Somebody's planning my energy. Somebody doing some shiznit that them motherfuckers should have told them. Because see, let me tell you what I'm going to help you out again. I'm going to tell you what they be saying. In the mainstream culture of baneful workings, okay, in the mainstream culture of that, I didn't say that these people don't go there. We're not talking about their power, their skill set. That's not what we're saying. They know what they're doing. In the mainstream, though, culture of it, this is what they'll say. This is what they look for. The practitioners, they just look to see if a person has some type of protection before they go into, because that's the advice in the arena. Okay, at least people who try to be a little bit more responsible. They say, okay, you do a reading first. You're supposed to do a reading before. If you're finna get into some serious weight, if you're finna get into some baneful shit, you're supposed to do a reading first to see if that person has if they've put up any kind of, anything that you can pick up in the reading that would imply they put up some type of energetic something to say ill-advised. They put and it may very well. So if the person then say, okay, there's no protection, they haven't, we don't see, but what if I told you that was a test? We don't see, because listen, I believe that there is a time and a place for all things. I don't really think that there's nothing intrinsically wrong I don't. It serves. I believe, now my humble opinion is it's supposed to serve for injustices, because in this 3D plane of existence, it's narcissistic. And people, are innocent lives are often given the shitty end of the stick in terms of the judicial systems honoring them properly, because everybody is crooked as shit. So I believe that in that case, that's supposed to whoop they sorry ass across the astral plane, bitch, into their next lifetime. Okay? For abuse of power. Abuse of position over people. Abuse of authority in order to perpetuate abuse to innocent lives. But I like this because I think it's a trap. Somebody came on one of my lives like a year ago. I don't know who they are, because I ended up going through a lot of blocking people, like cutting down my social media, because I'm like, man, this is trash. I ain't thirsty like everybody else, this motherfucker. Chop, 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 chop. I didn't get in it for it, and I ain't gonna be out of it for that reason either. Chop, 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 chop. So I was doing a co-live. It was somebody that came on, and we were talking, because I did a couple of co-lives about a year or so ago. And one of them said, they made a comment. They was like, man, she's karmic traps or karmic baits or something like that. He was implying that people are given opportunities to become better people. They come in, and it's a trap. They come in to comfort me, but unbeknownst to them, it's their opportunity. That's what be happening. It's their opportunity. Are you gonna be a sorry fuck or not? Are you going to clean up, be decent, or are you fencing to just keep this little karmic cycle rolling? Now, back to what I was saying. Because it wasn't just about lovers. It's about people. That's not what the person was referencing. It was about people. Okay? Just people who come into your presence. Various companies, businesses, they are given opportunities to be kind. And all these various people, they're being tested. And what if I told you, as is with covens? None of us is going to ever have all this figured out. And it's never going to matter. Like, this is what I'm gathering. It ain't going to never matter how well versed and seasoned and developed and trained and sharp. And we got all the skills, bitch. We got all the books, nigga. We went to Africa, got the first swans that was wrote and woke. None of us. And maybe that's just the peculiarity of this experience. So what if, see, I ask myself them questions, shit. Hell no. I ask my own self them same kind of questions. Because it's always, nigga, What if that's the only way to get character? I need you all to follow me here. In this plane of existence, what if that's the only way to see if character is going to come out of a person? Because, okay, so you do a reading before you go into the baneful work, and to make sure that, there's no things up that would possibly push it back, you know, or whatever's.
So you know how to drive, huh?
Now, what if the protection is there, but it's not detectable for you or the person or the group to test their character? Because see, when you're talking about healthiness, and I've talked about this some years ago, what I feel like it should be responsibility of a practitioner, but that's just me. It goes beyond that. I know I would. I know the fuck I would. Yes, the fuck. Here's why. Because the energy is manipulated a lot. Some of us have been targeted and victimed by swappy rule shit. I didn't believe it was a thing, but it is. So when you have people that have manipulated the energies in order to cloak themselves in, let's say, the collective's energy, this also means then what? As a byproduct, what? Then they dumped, there's an overlay of what's not theirs on them. Mm-hmm. This is why it requires depth beyond technical skill. It's going to require depth, true discernment and intuition, because that's the only way to squeeze out. I'm telling you, that's the only way, because that illusion.
George Parks, better than Omar Parts,
You know, tapping in, because if you're tapping into your higher ancestry, because we assume that all of the energies we're connecting to and talking to, there's an assumption. Some of our ancestry has not necessarily alchemized and ascended or transcended into their sovereignty, and they're still matrix programmed. But even beyond all of that, because some stuff is even simpler. Because the test may be, should it fucking matter? Did you hear that? Sometimes it's even simpler. Yeah, when it comes to targeted population, Earth Angel Starseeds, there may be something there that's there, no matter how many times people dump on them a swap and switch, and they have a team that you're not detecting, because they done been bombarded with parasitical energies in their auric field. This is a part of this is spiritual abuse. This is what spiritual narcissists do, so that their target basically get the gunk and junk that rightfully, or should I say correctly, belongs to them. That is what my people did. My sibling, my so-called mother, and the rest of them that's involved in that shit. That's what they did. What if the simpler thing is, should it matter? See, that's that grander scheme. Should it matter? Your heart is already, it's written on the walls already. The fact that the only thing that would stop you, the only thing that would actually stop you is the idea of the person having protection. That's a character reveal. It is. It's still, I don't care. It's still a character reveal. It's still a character reveal. Because the question ain't, is this just, did you hear me? The question is not, is this fair? You don't see the pondering and the evaluating in that sense. It's not, is this really just? Is this really truly, outside of my emotions and my ego, is this just? Is this integral? Is this fair? Is this really driven by something legitimate here? Notice that ain't what they asking themselves. Character reveal. Because someone that's more in tune with their sovereignty and kind of wanting to be in alignment with that, their character is interwoven into who they are and their practices. Is this just? Is this fair? Is this, what is this? And then those types of practitioners will start kind of sensing into uneasiness. Because again, when it's the trained beyond the technical, when it's beyond just, I have a skill set, I have a soul along with my skill set though. I have a consciousness.
George Flores,
I have a grounded sense of humanitarianism. I have a grounded sense. I'm not a loose cannon. And I'm definitely not out here doing stuff for greed.
Oh wait, they forgot. It has to be working for Machana and Gengar.
Anyway, this is why some of them fell in. Because again, they dotted their I's and they crossed their T's. They did all of the readings to make sure that there was no so-called protection. They got all of their practitioners to do all the readings and all the stuff. They got all the footmen, all the government and technology and all of they got all of the shit. Just to make sure they can keep some type of controlled, so-called, I should say, controlled environment. So they failed. They failed. Because sometimes, listen, y'all and that out here in this universe, do you, whatever. It's your life. Whatever. Evolution. A lot of humans are under hard final judgment because they don't want to. They're the resistance NPCs. They don't want to. And they want to get rid of anything that does. A whole lot of folks out there don't realize that all they're a part of is just some form of modern day slavery. And people are fighting for the spots as house slaves. Ethics. See, in the 3D version of all this stuff, it's clinical and it's sterile and it's based more on black and whites and technicalities and rules and regulations. But ethics calls into question all other variables about human life. It's not all mushed in one big pot. Lack of ethics is why they failed. Lack of the humanness that they came with, For some of them, maybe shit, I don't even know, just to be frank. I'm just gonna leave it at that, nigga. I'm just leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at that. Cause some, I don't know. I don't know. It's not just the stern rule keeping, because that really won't hold any weight if you're willing to kill. That is not going to hold any weight if you're willing to do a torture program on your own citizens, America. Don't hold no weight, baby. America wants to be known as world leader. One of the greatest world leaders of all time. Sorry, disqualified. Final judgment. Not if you're willing to torture your own citizens.
Citizens in disease, also known as citizens in disease.
For money and power.
Power.
How you're a world leader, and that's what you do to your people. That's what you do to your children. That's what you do to innocent life, so y'all can keep what you got, and to get your little scallywags that's competing to get a spot in the master's house. Oh, fucking world leader, man. We'll let anybody go fight on our behalf and get fucked up. Get our minds fucked up, our bodies fucked up, and never be the same and serve the country, you know. Go out there and never be the same. They come back, they ain't even who they was. They didn't came back fucked up. Listen, any Americans that's actually good and decent, that's beautiful, okay? And the ones that aren't into all those nasty things, then much respect, okay? This don't have nothing to do with being an anti-American. It has everything to do with being anti-hypocritical and anti-abuse and toxic to one's own citizens. That's what I am standing for. It's what I am speaking for. It ain't got nothing to do with that other shit. All of the stuff that's been done on my son and me are supposed to be done on people, on the real terrorist threats in this country. That stuff is not supposed to be being used on folks like myself or my son, period, point blank, the end.